If you are someone who is looking to build a personal brand, start right away. So I hope you do that and do it as fast as you can. There's no point in just thinking about it. Just go for it because there's never the right time to go about it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coach Tribe podcast. Today, we have with us Harsh. He's a personal brand consultant with a following of over 70K people on Instagram. How incredible is that? Without further ado, Harsh, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here with us today.
Hey Anna, thank you for the invite. I'm so glad I could make it. I know we had some delays for this podcast, but we are finally here after getting the time that we wanted and absolutely excited for this podcast. And of course, thank you for the warm welcome.
Of course, what can I say? I'm happy I finally got you. And now that you're here, there is no way out. I'm literally gonna, take out of you all of that valuable information that I know you hold in there. So we're here now and I'm gonna have my fun. Now, for everyone listening, I just want to give you an idea of what to expect from this really interesting episode. So with Harsh, we're going to talk a bit about personal brand. We're going to talk about how to improve, work on your story and message. And then we're going to look into the ways of how you can grow on Instagram and how to leverage Instagram to grow your business. Harsh, why is this important for our audience? Like, what's the value of this episode? Why is it so important for them to listen till the end?
I think what I feel is now everyone wants to create a personal brand. Of course, I've seen, entrepreneurs who are running their business, even they want to start with creating a personal brand and everyone is reaching out, hey, how do I create a personal brand? And I'm sure this is going to be valuable for whoever is listening because creator economy and the combination of personal brand is blowing at this moment and there's never the right time to start your own personal brand. And I think personal brand is going to be the future for anyone who's listening. So just beware. That's what you are going to see in the next few years, the booming of personal brands. So if you are someone who is interested in building a personal brand, whether you're an entrepreneur or someone who's just starting out on Instagram, then this episode is for you. So I hope you have fun, just listen to this and implement whatever you can.
Gotcha. I got it. Cool. Well, then I'm thinking a good way to start this, Harsh, is can you define personal brand for us? What is it? Because I hear lots of definitions and I feel like a clear idea of what we're talking about when we think of a personal brand would be very useful.
I believe personal brand is more about, what you're passionate about, what your niche exactly is, and how do you want to portray yourself to the world. I mean, every one of us is a personal brand. It's just that we are not portraying it in front of people as of now, but people have started doing that. I mean, personal brand could be anything such as being a musician. If you're a musician, you're also a personal brand in that space. If you're a social media marketer like me, then even I have a personal brand.
What would you say are some of the pillars of personal brand? Like, what are those components that we need to be aware of?
The first one is, of course, what exactly is it that you want to do? What is your niche? What is the calling for you? For example, I have been doing social media for quite some time now, so I do understand that is my niche and I'm good at that. So I just wanted to portray to the world what I can do for you and how I can help you. And that's something I really enjoy and it's one of my passions. So I think the first one is, of course, knowing what you want and what you want to offer to the world. And the second one is once you've, of course, decided, you need to understand where your audience is. It could be anywhere depending on who you're targeting. It could be on Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn, again, more on the business side because a lot of B2B clients are there on LinkedIn. So again, knowing your target audience. And I think the basic two things, if you know these two things, then I believe that you can always get started as to how you want to showcase your personal brand. So I think the first one is niche. The second one is knowing your target audience. I think these two are the only things that you need to know in terms of getting started with your own personal brand. So yeah, that's what it is.
Now, where do story and message go in when it comes to personal brand? Where do they fit in?
It's just about how you are communicating your message to the world. It's not just about, just randomly showing up on social media and just posting stuff because you want to build a personal brand. It's about how you are actually building that personal brand from the ground up, because you see a lot of content creators coming up on social media and building their personal brand, and there are 20 other people who are doing the same thing. So how are you different from them? What makes you special? I think that's when the brand storytelling comes in, because that is what will make you different from others. And that's basically how you communicate your personal brand to others. So it's important to understand what your USP is and how you can transform that USP to help others. And that's when how you can establish a brand storytelling to your audience, because that's the only way for them to even consider you, because if not you, they have 10 others waiting in the line to get the work from them. So I think it's all about showing your true self, your unique self out there in a way that convinces them that you are the right personal brand for them.
Got it. And for those who don't know what USP is, it refers to unique selling proposition. How would you define unique selling proposition? Is it the way you put yourself out there and the first image that someone gets of you?
It's a bit of both. I think, again, you have to find what makes you different from other personal brands. For example, if I am a social media marketer, how do I make myself different from others who are into the same business, who have the same personal brand? So I need to figure out what my unique selling proposition is. Maybe doing some things for businesses in a certain way that others can't, or maybe it's finding your own unique something. For example, if you are someone who is humorous, want to portray that through your personal brand. So I think that these are some of the small touches which you can bring to your personal brand that will make you different from others. And I think this is super important, because social media is crowded right now, and it's all about how that person can see you from different 100 others. So even if you're standing in a crowd of 100 people, people should be able to recognize that this is Harsh and this is a guy who is humorous, who does well. So I think that is the perception that we need to create in terms of your recognition, and that will be only done through a USP, that is a unique selling proposition. So it's just finding something unique about yourself and how you can market it and put in your personal brand, package it all together very nicely, and show it to the world.
This totally makes sense. So, in case you didn't know before why there was such a fuss around personal branding and your messaging, is because in today's competitive environment is so important to be able to be different and like stand out, because by standing out, all of that noise goes around you and you are the one, that people know, or like they know when they see your name, what are you all about. And that's very important, because in the end that means recognition for your brand, which leads to leads and sales. So you having working on your personal brand is incredibly important, because it's one of the most important mechanisms you can build to grow your business. Now, Harsh, I want to ask you, what are some common mistakes that you see people making when they work on their brand?
Again, it all comes down to how crowded the marketplace is, right? Because since it's so crowded right now, everyone is jumping on this like cats and dogs, because everyone realizes that personal brand is the next big thing, and that personal brand is going to help their business some way or the other. If you're already running a business, and creating a personal brand will directly impact the kind of employees you attract, the kind of leads you attract. So that all makes a difference to a personal brand, and that's what everyone is doing right now. But it's not just waking up one day and just deciding that I want to run a personal brand, so I'll start a page, I'll start posting about stuff. In order to be successful at this, you need to really dedicate some time, some serious time into this, because it's not just you are showing up once a month and you are expecting to build a personal brand. That's not how it does, how it becomes, because you need to build that credibility, that expertise. You need to create that perception that you are best at what you do, and you need to consistently show up on social media to make sure you are building the brand that you want. Only then it makes a difference of having a personal brand, because then creating just a page won't have any impact, about direct impact on your business, or just generating some side income. It won't help at all if there's no proper plan in place. So first thing I believe is that people just don't have the patience to be consistent. If you just join social media today, you can't expect to have great credibility and that perception in just a matter of a few days, or even let's say a few months. You need to be at least show up on social media, create the best content you can consistently, at least for 3 to 6 months. Only then you will start seeing some kind of results, because like you are just random new person, why would someone care who are you and what you're portraying? So it takes time to build that. The second one is, of course, using the right methods to grow. I've seen many pages who've come and gone because they haven't seen the success even after being consistent, because they are just confused as to what to do and how to approach things. So it's just understanding the basic things about the platform you're on. Like, for example, on Instagram, you need to understand how Instagram works and how it supports creators. So the first thing is, of course, people should know that engaging a lot and being active on Instagram is going to favor you because that's what social media wants you to do. They want you to be active. Also, you need to take advantage of the community and creating relationships on these social media and just make sure you're engaging with people. So that is some things that people need to take care of. So again, the second thing is understanding what the platform is all about, how it runs, and what it really favors and what it requires from you. And the third one is investing money. Of course, if you're an entrepreneur, you obviously don't have time to do everything yourself, right? You have your own business to run. So creating a personal brand at that time can be a bit challenging. So you need to invest some kind of money into that by hiring someone to do things for you, which you cannot. Obviously, it's completely fine to hire someone. And I believe these are some mistakes to be avoided at all costs. Only then I feel you can start seeing some results and you finally will be happy seeing the outcome from that.
Now, when you say people, you encourage people to be open about outsourcing or getting external help, when it comes to personal brand or social media, what options do people have? Like, what sort of help can they go for?
So I think the first and foremost, if they're just starting out and they have minimal investment, then I believe they can definitely hire freelancers who are more flexible in terms of the kind of requirements that these personal brands have. And also, freelancers have the time and patience to understand your personal brand and craft the messaging according to that. Because, of course, it's your personal brand. The things have to come from you. The freelancer or agencies can't do anything without your help. So, of course, you have to invest some time. So, I believe at the start, you can take help in terms of freelancers, hire a freelancer which you feel is the right fit for you and can understand your brand, understand how you want to run things, and accordingly you can take it forward. And once I feel you've grown a little bit and you feel that you are ready to invest a bit more, then you can try getting some help from agencies. There are personal branding agencies coming up nowadays who are specifically like, there to help personal brands, help entrepreneurs who want to build a personal brand. So I think that's the kind of investment you can make it a little forward if you feel comfortable with that. But I think hiring freelancers at the start is the way to go, in my opinion.
The Code Tribe podcast is powered by Pensight. I want to take this opportunity to tell you more about Pensight and how much value it can provide you and your coaching business.
Pensight is an all-in-one platform for coaches and educators that enables you to quickly and easily build a highly credible page and sell your knowledge with one-to-one sessions, group coaching, courses, Q&As, digital products, and bundles. Payments, scheduling, video calling, client communications, and everything else is taken care of.
All it takes is 5 minutes to set up and it's free. It's the smartest way to kickstart your coaching business. Sign up to Pensight today at pensight.com.
Now, I have a question, which is I feel like still this idea of personal brand is very broad. And I want to ask you if you can tell us in more, let's say, if you want practical terms, or give us an example of how a personal brand would look for someone in the sense of what are these elements that will show up, will be part of this personal brand. Is it the tone of voice? Is it the values? Is it me mentioning things that are important outside work? So what are some of these components that are part of this personal brand?
Well, I'll take my example for example. I started my personal brand almost 3 years ago. When I first started, my aim was not to create a personal brand as such because I was still finding as to what I'm good at, what I feel I can do in terms of creating a personal brand. So I decided to post things about social media landscape in total. So I was still finding my own calling. I was understanding what I can actually do. So I started posting randomly about social media and how social media works in general, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, or on Instagram. It was very broad at the start, but slowly and steadily, I learned how Instagram works. I saw there's a market full of personal brands who might need my help. And slowly and steadily, as I kept growing, so I got to know more about Instagram and how I can grow on it. And at the same time, I also understood what the market looks like. So I combined both the things, and that's where I felt I can go forward. And that's the reason my niche became more on helping personal brands. But it could be anything, for example, for an artist or for a fashion influencer as such. a person is coming on social media, if they're interested in fashion, then it could be something like, creating reel videos or carousels where they are just showcasing, those reels which we see, get ready with me, and all those kind of reels is which where their passion lies. So that's the reason they start creating that, and that eventually becomes their niche. And once they start growing up, they do understand there's a quite a bit space here in terms of not just showcasing my personal brand, but in terms of monetizing as well. So these fashion brands, they start getting, collaborations and partnership deals with other fashion brands as such. And I think that's one way to monetize for them, and also depends on how they want to take this forward. I've seen some fashion influencers also building their own boutique stores where they sell fashion clothes. So once you find out your niche, then there are very different paths that I feel you can go towards. Yeah, it's just about understanding the landscape altogether, and so I think there's a lot you can do once you figure out what the industry is, what actually is in demand right now, and what you feel could be the best way forward for you.
I got it. And since you started mentioning some of these ways people can monetize their following on Instagram, I was wondering, yeah, could you maybe give us an overview of what are some of the ways that creators can monetize their following once they have it? And here, I know it's important to say that I've seen creators monetize small followings, so it doesn't have to be a very large following. I've seen people making a lot of money from a few K of followers. So, what are the ways people can monetize their audience on Instagram?
Of course, there are many ways as such, and yeah, you obviously never need a lot of followers in order to start monetizing. It's about, even if you have like 4 5,000 followers, if you've been able to establish yourself as an authority, then you will start getting leads, and that's the time when you develop a plan in terms of how you want to monetize. So for example, there are a few people who start their coaching business, which I'm sure many of us know. They start a coaching business, they are getting inquiries, so they know that they have built a credible authority in this industry, and there's a demand. So they start with the coaching business, which even I've done in the past. I've seen people creating ebooks and selling them on social media. Let's say if I am a social media expert, I can create an ebook on that and pour all my knowledge into that and then start selling that. So that's one way to monetize. And if you've really built credibility, then you start getting brand deals, you start getting partnerships from brands which are interested in you and your audience because they feel your audience is relevant for them. So you might start getting paid for doing a few posts or a few reels and showcasing their product or services. On the other hand, there might be brands can come up with you to do affiliate marketing where you affiliate with them and enter their link in your profile somewhere, and people just go through that link and they buy that. So you are paid certain amount of commission through that. So these are some of the ways I think you can earn. And even if an affiliation is something that you can actively look after, there are many tools and softwares available for you to find affiliations. So you can just go to the website of the tools which you find are relevant in your industry and your audience might like, and apply for the affiliation, and they will get back to you. And if they feel that your page has that kind of credibility and the audience that they might require. So I've also seen people you creating merchandise of themselves, but of course that's when you go at a very much higher level and you have that credibility and following and fan following, for to be honest. And I believe Instagram has also started helping creators to monetize in terms of reels, where the total amount of reel views will give you certain amount to you, which has been started in the United States. So I think that is also one way to go. So I think lots and lots of opportunities to monetize, is just how you are able to craft that thing. I think there's a lot of way to start earning money. These are some of the fastest ways I think you can. But of course, your sales won't be affected if you don't have a credible personal brand. If you build a personal brand and it's not that credible, people won't actually buy from you, or you might not get inquiries as such. Even today, I get inquiries in terms of how I can help them manage their social media. So I brands do reach out to me, small and personal brands both, where they reach out to me and say, hey, I want to grow my following. I want someone who can help me manage my social media profile. So that's also one way to go about it. But these inquiries will only come in if you think you have provided the quality of content and you've developed yourself as an expert in your industry. So I think these are some of the ways to monetize.
Mm-hmm. I love it. You really mentioned quite a few of them. And for those listening to us, as you can see, so many opportunities waiting to be leveraged and for you to be able to monetize your following. Now, I know you mentioned a couple of times this idea of a strong personal brand. What can we do to build a strong personal brand? Like, are there some tips that you can give us?
When I mention strong personal brands, I mean to say being a credible authority in your niche, in your domain. And that's only achievable if you have the right knowledge to give to people. If you're just starting out, you might not have that much expertise to showcase to the world, which is completely fine. You can, learn more skills, gain some knowledge in terms of what you want to showcase as a personal brand, and then start showing it to the people. So I think there's always some sort of investment you can do in terms of learning new things, maybe try a new course on social media marketing, or practically handle a few clients yourself, the small clients which you think will definitely enhance your brand and enhance your experience, and also give you the right skills to showcase to the brand. And I think that's one way to go about it. It's just, being credible, you need to show what kind of things you know about what. I've seen many influencers who don't give a lot of focus on what their community is, and they don't respond to questions. They might get a lot of DMs, but they are not always willing to help. So I think that's one of the ways to not go about it, because if you build that community over time, you need to pay attention to what your community needs from you, and of course help answer them, because every person coming on your Instagram is a potential lead, or someone in their group might be a potential lead for you. So there's always the case that way. And of course, if you've taken the time to build that relationship, then it's important to maintain that, because you are nothing without your followers and nothing without your fans. So I think these are some of the things which I feel make you credible and help you create that community for a long term, and making sure it's just sustainable.
I thank you so much for putting this out there, because I'm also a big believer in the idea of community, and I think it's something that is becoming more and more important. And thank you for highlighting the need to really treat with care your followers and to be there for them, because in the end, if you don't do these things, then it will hurt you, if because these things are transparent, and if people see that you don't actually care, that's obviously going to be consequences to that. So thank you for putting
Of
that out
course.
there. Now we're getting to a very, very interesting part that I know many of you listening to this have come here for, which is Harsh, how to grow on Instagram. And who better can tell us how to grow on Instagram than somebody who has 70K followers? Now, before we get into it and into the details and secrets, I'm going to ask this question, Harsh. How did you get the 70K followers on Instagram?
It's actually, I feel that in order to grow, you need to consistently showcase yourself on social media, because that's what people care about. People want to know what's going on with you, what's going on with your life. And also, they want to see content from you every day. And that's what Instagram cares about, right? If given two scenarios, the first one is this person A who's showing up every day, posting every day, and there's the other person who just shows up once in a week or maybe once in 2 weeks and is not posting every day. Then of course Instagram is always going to favor the first person, and there's a possibility that the first person grows to 100K in the first year itself, and the second person not even growing to 10,000 followers in the first year. So that huge of a difference it can be in terms of being consistent in terms of showing up. And I know a lot of people have already heard about this, that being consistency, keeping consistency is obviously very important, but that's just the pretty basic thing that social media requires, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube. Every platform's aim is to make sure people are attracted on their social media. And that happens when creators like us, creators like you, can keep showing up, keep feeding them content. And that's how your audience is going to keep coming back on social media. So that's how it actually revolves. That's the circle that social media follows. And I think that's the only way to go about it. And of course, that's just the basic one. You need to make sure that you're putting out the right content, which is in demand right now. You need to make sure you analyze what your audience is liking, what they don't like, what kind of metrics are being measured through this, in terms of, are people sharing this post, are people saving these posts. Through that, you get to know what kind of interest people are taking in your type of content, and that's what helps you understand your audience as well. So I think creating a good quality content is absolutely important. To be honest, these are the only two things which requires you to start growing on social media, and these two are the basic things that people need to get started with.
Thank you for sharing this. Now, can I ask you, what was your growth journey in terms of timeline? Like, how did this 70K followers come? Did they come now, more recently, or yeah, like, can you give us an idea of how long it took you to get here and when, how all of these followers came about?
So I think the starting journey, the first 3 months when you start a page, it's usually very slow because you are the new person on the social media. Not people don't know about you. People don't trust your content yet. So the first 3 months is usually really slow, and after that third or fourth month is when things start getting to pick up. So that's the reason I always keep telling to be consistent for 3 to 6 months, because that's how much time it takes for you to see results. So I think fourth month is when I started seeing some good growth. I was growing like 100 followers almost every day. So I started seeing the growth from there, and then reaching to 10,000 followers was a cakewalk. I think by the first 4 or 5 months, it took me to reach 10,000 followers. And then as you're more and more consistent, you understand what works and what doesn't, then it becomes even more easier to grow. I've seen pages grow from 0 to 100K in a year itself. And for me, again, the first 50,000 followers, I think I did in a year itself. But if, let's say, if I were to give my 100%, then I would have been at least 200K by now. But yeah, that's just how it goes. So the growth might be slow or fast, but I believe it is possible to grow from 0 to 100K in the first year itself if you put in the right time and you are consistent, because it's easy to give up. After 6 months of continuously posting, you might just give up because you're just tired of the same thing. It's completely fine to take a quick break, 1 to 2 weeks, and then come back again. Of course, if you want to build the biggest brand ever, you have to make it sustainable. You cannot be creating posts every day for years and years. That's just not possible. You need to make sure there are systems in place which can help you create content, if not on daily basis, at least alternate days. If you have the right systems in place, then that's possible. And as you keep growing, you can also hire people to help you with that thing, because you've always built a personal brand, you've built a credibility. They just need to replicate all the stuff that you've done before and just keep putting out the content out there. So yeah, it takes some time, but I think it's possible to grow quite quickly given the you put the right time in it.
In your case, do you think that most of followers came through reels or now more recently carousels? What is the type of content that brought you the most followers?
I think when I started, reels were not there yet. Reels is something which is quite new. It's been what, I think 2 years since reels have started blowing up. But before that, the content was all about carousels and single posts, and I've seen good results with both of them. So when I started my page, I was just posting carousels and single posts, and I did see a lot of growth through that as well. But Instagram also wants you to start using the newest features, because that's what they value and that's what they want creators to do, so that audience can come in and start consuming these type of content. So that's the reason Instagram started giving a lot of weightage, a lot of focus to reels lately. And the past 1 year has helped a lot of people to grow through reels. So again, on Instagram, it's important, not just Instagram, but also social media. It's important to start using, the newest features, because that's what is going to help you grow. But of course, at this moment, Instagram is favoring all kinds of content equally, because recently they announced that they are not just favoring reels, but they will also favor carousels and single posts. So it's good news for everyone, because people are not forced to create reels, because that's what was happening past, because people saw good growth with that. So I think right now everything is working quite well in terms of content, in terms of whether you're posting reels, carousels, or single posts. It's just about figuring out what works for you. A combination of all the type of content is always the right way to go, because your audience doesn't get bored seeing the same kind of content from you. They need to see some variety, and there are a lot of people out there willing them to give that kind of thing. So you need to make sure that you're giving them some new thing. If you've never done reels before, try doing it. It might be something that will be exciting for you and your audience as well. And Instagram might favor you as well. So make sure to try a good combination of things, and also try things that you haven't done. Maybe that's something that might work better for you. So I think that's the way to go for me.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And I know you mentioned these platforms want us to be active, and the more active we are, obviously, the more reach and benefits there are for us as well. Can you tell us, what do you mean by being active, and also being active in a strategic way? So not just scrolling and consuming content. How can we be active in a strategic way?
Being active would be in terms of being on Instagram and doing some kind of thing, not just consumption, but actually doing some kind of action, because that's what being active is. People, Instagram won't just help you because you are just consuming content all day. That's not how it works. It's about what you are giving to Instagram and what you are giving to other audience. That's what matters. So I think engagement, putting out stories and also putting out posts is what I mean by being active. And of course, if you want to be strategic, I know that people don't have that much time. So again, you have to understand how you can manage your time the best. Even if it's just 15 minutes in the entire day, it's completely fine. In those 15 minutes, engage for 5 minutes. In the next 5 minutes, maybe put up a story, and the other 5 minutes, maybe you are just responding to your story replies or responding to your DMs. So I think that's the way you can distribute your time. So you have to be strategic in that sense in terms of time management, because I believe that's the biggest issue people have right now. They just don't have the time to be active on Instagram. So I think setting up a time in your entire day where you are just focusing on your personal brand is what can definitely help you a lot.
Got it. And now, because we're getting close to the end of the episode, time is flying when you're learning good stuff. Can I ask you, Harsh, what are some secrets, some hacks, some things that maybe, it's something very recent that you've learned about how to get higher reach? Or, yeah, can you share with us maybe some of these good practices that we can follow?
I mean, you see a lot of posts and people talking about hacks. I feel, of course, there are a few things in terms of what you mean by hacks. It could be, even the basic thing like mentioning the right hashtag, which can help people discover you, or collaborating with the biggest influencers in your industry, because that would help you, take a shortcut in terms of getting more followers. So these are the things that I consider a hack. It's not like the proper hack which people would assume, but these are some of the things that I feel can help you boost your growth. So I believe the first thing is, collaborating with the bigger influencers who maybe they have 100K followers and you are at just 20K. So when you're collaborating with them, you are directly reaching to their audience of 200 or 100K, and that directly impacts on the kind of following you get. So I think collaborating is one quick shortcut to having more followers for sure, because you're exposing your content to those 100K followers, even though you don't have 100K followers. So that's one way to go about it. And also being easily discovered on Instagram. Maybe I type, let's say, content on the search bar of Instagram, and my page pops up because my username is hush.content, because that is what the SEO is all about. So you need to make sure it's easy to find your profile for people, whether it's to just writing those keywords in the search bar, or finding your posts in one of those few hashtags which are relevant for them. So I think you need to understand what your audience is all about, what they care about, and then just be present at those places where they might search you. So I think these are some things which I consider a few quick hacks.
And hashtags, because I know this is a controversial one. Is there any strategy that you use, any specific number that you usually follow?
So I think the recent trend which was going on in terms of hashtags was using only 5 to 7 hashtags, because that's what narrow down your Instagram and your posts, and that's what Instagram also recommended. But people have reported that it's not always the case. People have seen good growth with also using a lot of amount of hashtags. Some people favor using fewer hashtags. So again, it's to be honest, it's very subjective. Different people have seen different results and their content through the use of hashtags. I would say it's just the way of experimenting. Try using 30 hashtags, try using 15 times, try using 5, and see what works the best for you. And I think that's the way it would go about it. Everything works differently for different pages. There's no one way to go about it for any page. Things which I feel creators can do is just see what is working for other creators and use that as well. So I mean, use that for your niche, because that is what is already proven and is working for others. So that is what will work for you as well. And I think people give very less importance to this, because of course people always think that new coming out with your own unique content is always important, which is of course right. But I believe you want to do both of those things together, because that's how you can maximize your growth.
Got it. And in terms of length of the video, is there any secret there? Like, I know there are 7-second reels that were looping, or yeah, what's your feeling there?
So I believe, of course, that these days people do not have a lot of time, because they just scroll past the reels quite quickly. So I think you maximum have around 3 seconds to grab their attention for them to actually stop on your reel. So I think the first 3 seconds have to be a kind of hook which stops them to scroll down. So first 3 seconds very important. The first 3 seconds can have some kind of trigger warning, or maybe some kind of transition, or just having that very nice hook which will stop people. And then the length of the reel could vary. I mean, if you've stopped the people to from scrolling more, then you can of course have any length of reel, but it is always recommended to keep it short. I personally believe the reel length between 10 to 15 seconds is the way to go, because of course people are very impatient. They are impatient and lazy, so they want to just scroll past everything and consume as much as they can in a very short amount of time. So they would also like reels which are much shorter, and of course fun at the same time. So I think that's a recommendation from me.
And I really want to encourage people to go and check Harsh's Instagram. It's harsh.content, because he has something really cool going on there, which is apart from the really informative posts and carousels, he's doing some, I will call them trends. It's those reels, Harsh, where have some music going on. You either do the voice, and then you usually have some sort of value in the caption. Can you tell us a bit more about those and how effective are they?
So I think using those kind of reels can definitely trigger people or make them very curious about what I'm going to talk about. And using those kind of sounds in the background is what helps me stop them from scrolling. And then I do put some value in the caption as well, where they can read it up. So for that to happen, I obviously need a lot of a very good hook in my title itself, so that people actually read my caption. So that's super important for them. And of course, I believe I have a humorous side, so I like to portray them through my reels, because that's what personal brand is all about, right? You need to portray who you are as a person through your content. So I've been doing that since quite some time, and I really love it. I think people also enjoy it. And of course, if I'm portraying my personality through that, through my reels, and of course keeping a hook in place, then it definitely helps them to check out my captions as well, check out more of my profile, and bring that reach on my page. So I think that's what has worked for me.
Got it. And I think, in the end, that's still a part of your personal branding, because we kept talking about what is personal branding. Well, by you showcasing this side of yourself where maybe you're not so serious, you're a bit more playful, that shows people what sort of person you are, and that tells you more about your personality. So again, like, content is it's a great way to build this personal branding and to showcase who you are. Now, two very fast questions, and then we are done for today. Question number one is, what about posting times? Is there a specific hour to post, or how can we go about posting times?
For me, I usually post around 6 to 7 p.m., because that was what has worked for me. But I have chosen that time because I've seen my audience being very active during that time. It's something that you can see from your insights, and also you have to understand what kind of audience you do have. Because for me, my audience are of course students, and also entrepreneurs, and also the content creators. These are my I feel my target audience, and I believe they usually get done with their work after 6 p.m. And that's the time they have to scroll on Instagram. So I need to be present at that time. So I believe that's what has worked for me. So I think there's no right time to post. It's just about when do you think your audience might be active. Maybe it's in the morning when they check their phones. Maybe it's in the middle of the work, or maybe it's in the evening after work, or maybe it's before they go to sleep, and that's when they are scrolling on Instagram. So you need to consider what your audience is doing, and try out different times which can work for you, and then select a time that works the best for you. Even I've done experiments in that sort of place, where I have posted at midnight, and even at evenings, and I figured out that evenings work much better for my content. So that's how I chose my own good time. So again, it a bit subjective for that as well. So I think you need to experiment with a few timings, or 3 4 timings you need to keep in mind, and then see which time is the best for you and when your audience is active, and that will be the way to go.
Test, 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 and iterate. And the last
Yeah,
question is, how many times a day, a week should we post?
that's I've seen people recommending posting 3 4 times in a day, but of course that's quite a lot, and not everyone has the time to do it. So I would recommend, when you're starting out, it's okay to take it slow, because you're just getting used to it. Maybe post 2 to 3 times in a week, And as you go forward, try posting more and more content. And of course, if you can post one piece of content every day, then that's the best way to go. But it's okay if you don't have the time. Take it slowly at the start, but make sure you're being consistent. Consistent not just in terms of posting every day, but in terms of what days you're posting. Maybe you are doing every alternate day, so be consistent in that. If you're posting every day, be consistent in that. See what's sustainable for you, which you can keep doing for long term, and that would be the way to go. But of course, the more you post, the better it is for you.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so, so much, Harsh. This has been very, very, very useful. And I want to ask you now, where can people find you and how can you help them?
I think people can always find me on my Instagram account, which is harsh.content. And if I am not able to reply you, then always try reaching out to me on LinkedIn, because if I see your message on LinkedIn, I'm definitely going to reply to that. On Instagram, since I have a lot of requests, so sometimes it might not be possible for me to attend to all the queries. So if it's not possible to reach out to Instagram, then always try to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Again, the LinkedIn link is on my Instagram bio link as well. So that's where you can reach me. And of course, I help personal brands leverage what their calling is and help them on social media, grow their social media, and of course, help them monetize through various ways.
So you heard him. If you want to learn more about personal branding, about Instagram growth, Harsh is your person. So make sure you follow him and then you reach out to him. Harsh, any last words for our audience today?
I just hope that our audience did enjoy knowing about personal brand and how they can pursue it. So my recommendation will be, if you are someone who is looking to build a personal brand, start right away. And if you need any kind of help or opinion from me, just reach out to me. So I hope you do that and do it as fast as you can. There's no point in just thinking about it. Just go for it, because there's never the right time to go about it. And at the same time, I hope you had a great fun with our session, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
We thank you so much. And what can I say? Thank you, dear listeners, for listening till the end. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm sure you did, because there were lots of golden nuggets right there. And I made sure till the last second I was asking those questions. Thank you, Harsh. Thank you, dear audience. And I guess see you all for the next episode of the Coach Tribe podcast. Have a good day, everyone. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be releasing every Wednesday, so make sure to
Subscribe.
and rate us 5 stars where you're listening to this show to give others a chance to discover it too.